How do you kill a man when your heart forgets he's your enemy? New Orleans, the city that hums with sin and whispers secrets through jazz. I came here with one goal, to end St. Patrick, the man who destroyed my family, the man I swore would never see another sunrise. But the night I finally found him, he wasn't what I expected. He wasn't a monster hiding in shadows. He was the center of every room. Very charismatic. A smile sharp enough to slice through my resolve. Riley Monroe, he said, like he already knew me. And maybe he did. My hands trembled around the glass of bourbon I didn't order. He leaned closer, the smell of smoke and cedar wrapping around me. I've been waiting for you, he whispered. That's when I knew I was walking straight into his trap. Outside, thunder cracked. The city lights blurred through rain on the windows. Behind him, two men, his men, watched me closely. I recognized one of them, Marcus Kane. He used to work for my father before Saint had him killed. My pulse roared in my ears. I was supposed to pull the trigger tonight. Instead, I found myself asking him questions I shouldn't, listening to his voice, falling for the devil I came to destroy. By the time the storm outside faded, I wasn't sure who was hunting who anymore. And when he took my hand that night, I didn't pull away, because somewhere between hate and heartbreak, I forgot the reason I came. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of church bells. New Orleans never sleeps, but its mornings have a cruel way of reminding you what you did the night before. St. Patrick had offered me a job. I told him I wasn't interested. He laughed, low, dark, and certain. You'll change your mind, Riley. By noon, I had. The offer wasn't just money. It was access to his inner circle, his mansion, his secrets. Exactly where I needed to be. Exactly where my father's killer had built his empire. His mansion sat near the edge of the French Quarter, all marble floors and sin wrapped in elegance. Inside, people moved like shadows. His bodyguard Marcus, his icy assistant Lena Graves, and an older man everyone called Doc, who ran the business. I wasn't the only one hiding something. I could see it in Lena's eyes, jealousy, suspicion, maybe both. Saint found me later that night on the balcony, staring at the city lights. Beautiful, isn't it? He said. He stood too close. And for a man who ruled by fear, his voice was almost gentle. I asked him why he picked me. He smiled. Because you don't flinch, even when you should. Lightning flashed. For a heartbeat, I saw it. The scar on his shoulder, the same one described in my father's journal. The proof that he was there the night my father died. I hid my shaking hands behind the champagne glass. He touched my chin, forced my eyes to his. Whatever brought you here, Riley, I'll find it. And I almost laughed. Because if he did, he'd die for it. Saint's world was a maze of whispers, loyalty, and blood. By the end of my first week working for him, I'd seen more darkness than most people witness in a lifetime. Every deal he made was laced with charm. Every threat delivered with a smile. And every time our eyes met, the air shifted, heavy, dangerous, magnetic. I told myself it was all strategy. That every time he brushed past me, every time his hand lingered too long, I was just getting closer to the kill. But my pulse betrayed me. Lena watched me constantly. She knew I didn't belong here. She warned me one night in the hall, voice low, eyes sharp. He doesn't fall for anyone, Riley. And if he does, it ends badly. I almost told her the truth, that I wasn't here to make him fall. I was here to end him. But before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A name flashed across the screen I hadn't seen in years. Caleb Monroe, my brother. My heart stopped. Caleb had vanished after our father's death. And now he was in New Orleans. The message was short. He isn't who you think he is. Don't trust anyone. Meet me by the docks at midnight. But midnight came, and Caleb didn't. Instead, Saint was there, waiting, rain dripping from his hair, a gun tucked beneath his coat. Looking for someone? He asked. I froze, because the look in his eyes told me he already knew. And that was the night I realized St. Patrick wasn't my target anymore. He was my obsession. The docks were silent that night, except for the sound of waves slapping against the wood. Saint stood in the mist, calm, unreadable, while I tried to steady my breath. Who are you waiting for, Riley? His voice wasn't angry. It was wounded. I said it was no one. He didn't believe me. You think I don't know who you are? He asked softly. And then he said my father's name. Ethan Monroe. My chest tightened. He took a step closer. I didn't kill him. My world tilted. You were there, I whispered. You were there the night he. That's because I was trying to save him. The words hit harder than any bullet. Saint looked away, rain streaking his face. Your father was my mentor. He built this empire before me. He wanted out, but someone made sure he couldn't leave. Who I demanded. He hesitated. Marcus. I felt the ground vanish beneath me. Marcus Kane, the man who'd worked for both of them. The man who'd warned me Saint was poison. Saint reached into his coat, pulled out a ring. My father's ring. He gave me this the night he died, he said. Told me to keep it safe. Said one day his daughter would come looking for answers. Tears blurred my vision. Riley, his voice broke. You came to kill me, but I think your father wanted me to protect you. Lightning split the sky, and in that flash I saw it. Not hate, not danger. Love. Real. Terrifying. Undeniable. And that was the moment I realized I was already wearing his ring. The ring burned against my skin like a confession I couldn't erase. Saint's eyes held mine, full of truth I didn't want to believe. If Marcus had killed my father, then everything I'd built my life around was a lie. That night, Saint took me to an old warehouse on the edge of the quarter, his private headquarters. The air reeked of smoke and gun oil. Maps lined the walls. Names, numbers, faces. My father's name was circled in red. Saint pressed a file into my hands. Read it. You deserve the truth. Inside were photos, my father, Marcus, shipments, ledgers. And in the middle, one image that froze my breath, me, at 16, watching from the shadows the night my father died. You were there, Saint said quietly. I swallowed hard. I saw you pull the trigger. He shook his head. Marcus pulled the trigger. I took the blame, so his men wouldn't come for you. The world spun. Everything I'd hated him for, every sleepless night of vengeance, was built on a lie. Then the door burst open. Marcus stepped out of the dark, gun in hand, smirking. Touching reunion, he sneered. Too bad it ends here. Before I could move, Saint stepped in front of me. A bullet tore through his shoulder. I screamed his name. He still didn't fall. He just looked back at me and said, Run. But I didn't. I raised my own gun. My hands didn't shake this time. And when I pulled the trigger, it wasn't revenge anymore. It was love. The shot echoed through the warehouse, and everything went silent, except Saint's voice, whispering, Now we're even. The bullet hit Marcus clean. He fell before he even realized I'd pulled the trigger. Silence filled the warehouse, the kind that hums louder than noise. Saint staggered, blood seeping through his shirt. I caught him before he fell. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered. He smiled weakly. Would you have believed me? Tears blurred my sight as I pressed against his wound. He covered my hand with his grip still strong despite the pain. You were supposed to hate me, Riley, he said, voice fading. Not love me. But I already did. And that was the problem. Sirens wailed in the distance. Lena had called the cops. Doc rushed in with a car waiting out back. Saint leaned close, his lips at my ear. If they catch me, it's over. So listen carefully, go home, Riley. Forget me. But how do you forget someone who's woven into your scars? Days later, the headlines called him a fugitive. The police found Marcus's body, but Saint had vanished, like smoke through the city he ruled. I thought that was the end, until a small velvet box arrived at my door. Inside was the ring, my father's ring, and a note, written in Saint's handwriting. You swore to kill me. Instead, you became my reason to live. Keep the ring. It's yours, because you've always been mine. I wear it still, not as a trophy,
not as a chain,
but as a reminder that love and vengeance bleed the same color. And every time it catches the light, I hear his voice again, whispering from the dark. You were never meant to kill me, Riley. You were meant to find me. Subscribe for more stories where love walks the razor's edge between vengeance and obsession.